What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Sit Down. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure you hit that like button and let me know what you think of today's very interesting discussion in the comment section below. If you're new around here, you just haven't done it yet. We're living under a rock and seeing this video for the first time. I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button below now so you never miss another Sit Down video. Today's video is powered by ProfitX, the nation's first sports prediction exchange. Right now, you can wager on any sport available and get the best odds in the country. What exactly is ProfitX? Well, you're not betting against bookmakers. You're betting against odds set by yourself or matched by other people, or you're matching other people's odds. And it's possible that in your state, you can't use FanDuel or other bookmaking apps. With availability in 40 states now, it's likely you can bet with ProfitX. Get involved in the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. Get ready for football. Click on the link in the pinned comment and bet now with ProfitX. Before we get started today, I want to shout out everyone and their fathers. Tomorrow is Father's Day, and for me, it'll be my second Father's Day without my father, Jeff Nadu Sr. He was a great dad, and I miss him every day. I hope all of you have a very happy Father's Day. I know many of the people that watch our show, in fact, according to the analytics, about 94% of the people that watch this show are men, and it's likely that a large percentage of them are fathers. I wish all of you a very happy Father's Day. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into another very interesting organized crime topic. And in 2021, the rapper Drake released an album called Certified Lover Boy. One of the tracks on that CD was a song called 7 a.m. on Bridal Path. Early in the track, Drake discusses, "Don't move like a puto. Could at least keep it a buck like Antetokounmpo. I'm made north of the border like Vito Rizzuto. Throwing parties in Miami. They loving us mucho." Drake is one of the biggest artists in the world, and being referenced by Drake is larger than life. He referenced a person that we've heard before, a man called Vito Rizzuto. And the Rizzuto crime family, quite frankly, has been one of the biggest criminal organizations in the country of Canada for many decades. On Thursday of this past week, Vito Rizzuto's son, Leonardo Rizzuto, was arrested in a wide-speaking indictment involving various members of organized crime. This is a big blow to a crime family with the name Rizzuto that I'm not sure they're going to be able to overcome. Today, I want to delve into the arrests. I want to delve into the people arrested, the story of Leonardo Rizzuto and his confidants next on the Sit Down. Leonardo Rizzuto was born in 1969 and will grow up in the northeastern area of Montreal. Now, when we're talking about the Rizzuto crime family, obviously we have to discuss the patriarchs of the family, the people before Leo. Now, the family essentially began with a person called Niccolo Rizzuto, who was the patriarch of the family, and he would emigrate to Canada in 1954. He was from the Sicilian town of Catalica Ericlea. Now, Catalica Ericlea is a mafia stronghold, and Niccolo Rizzuto in the mid-50s was connected to the mafia. His wife was connected to the mafia. He would have a son, Vito Rizzuto, and at 8 years old, Vito would emigrate alongside his family to Canada, and they would settle in Montreal. Now, the Rizzutos, both Nicola and Vito, would obviously enter in to the mafia. They were very rich. They were large-scale drug traffickers, very wealthy. Eventually, Vito Rizzuto would enter the life, and in 1966, he would marry a woman named Giovanna Camilleri. The Camilleri, they would also eventually have 3 kids. Nick Jr. or Niccolo, as well as Libertina and Leonardo. Now, Vito Rizzuto was a very successful drug dealer, and he would become the boss of the modern day Rizzuto crime family, which at one point was a crew inside the Bonanno crime family. And what Rizzuto and his father did was they set up pipelines all over and laundered drug proceeds from their many pipelines into loan sharking, controlling gambling. They were essentially the heir apparent as far as Canadian organized crime mafia activity. They were the people that ran the mafia in Montreal and controlled a vast criminal enterprise. Now, we now know that Vito Rizzuto also became very close and a soldier in the Bonanno crime family, which, as we know, is one of the five families. And down the road, Vito Rizzuto would participate in various high-level murders, including the three capos hit. Now, when we talk about the Rizzuto crime family, it's also generally very much discussed, and it's a lazy argument. It's a just quite frankly wrong argument that the Rizzuto crime family was just kind of a Canadian wing of the five families. It's actually nowhere close. In fact, according to various people that are experts on the Rizzuto crime family, by 2003, the Rizzuto organization was variously listed by the FBI as just kind of a Canadian crew. However, according to multiple accounts, the reality is far different. The territory they control is huge. More than 1,000,000 square miles of Quebec and Ontario directly fell under the Rizzuto crime family's influence, which is an area larger than 1/4 the size of the entire United States. They also controlled the busiest border crossings between the United States and Canada, and many mature mafia clans that are by and large cooperating under their banner. Now, where American Mafia bosses controlled criminal activity in either a city or borough, the Sixth Family, aka the Rizzuto crime family, was an enterprise with a true global reach. The Sixth Family had outplaced any crew in the Bonanno family, and indeed, man for man, dollar for dollar, had eclipsed the family as a whole. The nucleus of the Montreal-based mafia comprised of hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers and associates, according to a police report drafted in 2004. It was also said those who merely do business with them or work with them in short-term ventures are not included. However, neither generally are the businessmen who do mostly criminal favors for the organization. So again, the Rizzutos weren't just members of the Bonanno crime family. They controlled a transnational criminal organization. The problem is the leadership eventually would either be arrested or killed, which takes us to Leonardo Rizzuto. Now, I want to talk about him, only him. He was born, as I said, in 1969 and would grow up in a ritzy upscale area of northeastern Montreal known as Mafia Row, which is where many mobsters lived. They lived in large mansions and homes, and he would grow up quite well. In fact, in and around 1995, Leo Rizzuto would graduate from the University of Ottawa with a law degree. In 1995, he would apply to the bar. However, he was denied due to having a criminal record. According to what we know, in 1992, he would plead guilty to 2 drunk driving related charges following an incident in May of 1992 in the Canadian town of Mount Royal. He would also be caught in June of 1994 with a blood alcohol reading far beyond the acceptable limit. He would lose his driver's license way back in 1989 at the age of 19 and would eventually be caught time and time again, not only for drunk driving, but for driving without a license in upwards of 10 times between 1992 and 1994. He would also receive various speeding tickets as well as for running a stop sign. Now, eventually, Leo Rizzuto would fight this and the whole thing would be absolved. He was banned for several years, but eventually accepted to the Quebec Bar Association in 1999. It's also important to say that his sister, Libertina, is also a lawyer. Now, when we talk about Vito Rizzuto, I think the thought was Leo Rizzuto was not going to become a member of the mafia. In fact, many people that knew him would describe him as, quote, a gentle soul who didn't have a mob boss personality, like his brother. And when we look at the character of Leo Rizzuto, he's very similar to Michael Corleone, a guy who, was sent to college, was not rough and tumble, maybe like his brothers. That's kind of what Leo Rizzuto was. In fact, when we look into both Leo and Niccolo Rizzuto, the sons of Vito Rizzuto, Niccolo Rizzuto was far more kind of in line to become a high-ranking member of the mafia. In fact, when his father went away in the 2000s for his participation in the Three Capos hit, Niccolo Rizzuto was essentially running things on the street for his father as he was doing time in the United States for that hit. However, in 2009, he was shot to death. Shortly before noon, he left a condominium where a black male approached him, shooting him multiple times. It would get worse for Leo Rizzuto due to the fact that not only did his brother die, but in 2010, his grandfather was shot to death by a sniper rifle. And in 2013, his father would die as well. This would set up a power vacuum in the Rizzuto crime family, and power upheavals would begin. Leo Rizzuto would also have to battle the fact that he had to go to prison between 2015 and 2018. Now, not only would he escape brushes with the law, but he'd actually have to escape brushes with death. In March of 2023, while traveling on Highway 440 in the Quebec, or the Montreal, Quebec suburb of Laval, his Mercedes-Benz was shot multiple times, in which he survived. Now, it was found out days later that gunmen were sent by old Rizzuto member turned rival Francesco Del Balso, who was planning to take over the Rizzuto crime family. Francesco Del Balso would turn up dead in a gym parking lot in broad daylight in June of 2023. So it has been a long odyssey for Leo Rizzuto over the last 10 years. And I want to kind of jump into, now that we've gotten through this history lesson, I want to get into the arrest on Thursday involving Leo Rizzuto, as well as various counterparts, including his number two, a person called Stefano Solicito. Now, Solicito is also the son of a mobster. In fact, Stefano Solicito and Leo Rizzuto go way back. Stefano Solicito's father was a person called Rocco Solicito. He was a very high-ranking member of the Rizzuto crime family, very close to Vito Rizzuto. He was huge in the construction industry. Solicito's sons, including Stefano, would follow him into the life. Both he and Leo Rizzuto were taken off the street, and this is a major blow to the mafia. Now, I want to go through first the charges for Leo Rizzuto and Stefano Solicito. I want to make this clear, though. All of the people arrested, all 11, or indicted on Thursday, 5 have not been arrested. All of them have been charged with murder or conspiracy to commit murder or both. So these are very serious charges. Now, one of the murders that Mr. Rizzuto allegedly took part in was that of the murder of a man called Lorenzo Lopresti. Now, the name Lopresti is synonymous with the Bonanno crime family. If you know anything about the history of the Bonanno family, Giuseppe Lopresti, who was Lorenzo Lopresti's father, was a high-ranking member of not only the Bonanno crime family, but the Montreal Six family headed by Vito Rizzuto. Now, Giuseppe Lopresti was a high-end drug trafficker. In fact, he brokered heroin deals between Angie Ruggiero, Gene Gotti. He was very connected to the mafia. Lorenzo Lopresti would turn up dead in October of 2011. Now, this is on the heels of his father, Giuseppe Lopresti, being whacked in 1992. Now, it was said that Lorenzo Lopresti, who actually grew up with Leonardo Rizzuto, they grew up in the same area in Mafia Row. It was said that Lorenzo Lopresti was a mobster. He was trying to be a part of a group that was looking to take over around that time, and Lorenzo Lopresti was whacked. This is one of the murders that Mr. Rizzuto was charged with, alongside Stefano Solicito, who was also arrested on Thursday and seen in a wheelchair being rolled out into a awaiting police vehicle. Let's go through some of the other people arrested on Thursday. One of the main people was Pietro Diadamo. Now, Diadamo is a very important member of today's mob in Montreal. It said he's very respected and runs the southern area of Montreal known as La Salle. So this is very important. This is a big time capo being taken off the street. Another individual arrested on Thursday was a person called Vito Salvaggio. Now, Salvaggio is an up and coming member and said to be a conduit between the Rizzuto crime family and biker groups. He's said to be someone that has pushed for peace. He's a senior member, but also an up and coming member due to the fact that he is still fairly young. Another person arrested on Thursday was Niccolo Spagnolo. Now, Niccolo Spagnolo is a longtime Rizzuto loyalist, very trusted. His father was involved with the mafia. Again, another senior member taken off the street. He's recently been released from prison after he beat up a guy outside of a bar and stabbed him. Now, one of the most important people outside of these individuals arrested was David Baldi Barberio. Now, Baldi Barberio is considered to be the street boss currently of the Rizzuto crime family, very high-ranking, young, respected member. In 2021, he was actually shot by this individual who was sent by another organized crime group to take out Mr. Barberio in 2021, as I said. So all of these people mentioned today are very important to the, growing but dying Rizzuto crime family. Again, there's been so much that has went on over the last even just 10 years. All of the hits, including the conspiracy to commit hits with these people, all of those hits have happened between 2011 and 2021. And it's obviously conceivable that Leo Rizzuto could go to jail for at least 25 years. Now, there is no RICO Act in Canada, though. Again, if he's hit and charged and then convicted with first-degree murder, he would have to be in prison at least 25 years, which would mean at the age of 56, he would be in his early 80s. That's if he even gets released on parole at that point. Now, again, it must be made clear that Leo Rizzuto is an attorney. His sister is an attorney. He's a very smart person. And I'm guessing he was very insulated. It's not like he went out and committed these crimes as far as we know. This is going to be very much about his word and what he argues against the word of the main witness in this case, or the cooperator. Most of the information is said to have come from a man called Frederick Silva. Now, Frederick Silva is one of the biggest killers in the history of Canada. In fact, according to Frederick Silva, he personally participated in up to 65 different hits on behalf of organized crime. Everybody from the mafia to bikers. I mean, this guy was just a hitman. That's what he was. He was eventually convicted, given a long prison sentence, and decided to flip. This is all from his collaboration. Now, again, I'm not putting Leo Rizzuto out the pasture or any of these people. They are all innocent until proven guilty. That's important to understand. That said, this is a big blow to the Rizzuto crime family, or what's left of the Rizzuto crime family. Will the mob ever leave Montreal? Of course not. It's always going to be around. That said, over the last 10 years, more and more ethnic groups have come into the area. You always have bikers. You always have black street gangs. You have Haitians. You have the Ndrangheta, who is in Toronto. Several people believe that the hit in 2021 on David Barbiero was the Ndrangheta. So again, a power vacuum. Criminal groups recognize that this group right now is weak. A lot of their leadership is in prison or might be going away for a long time. So someone's going to try to fill the void. This is exactly what happened when Vito Rizzuto was killed in 2013. And then, even several years ago, Chit Del Balso was looking to try to take over the family. And that was one of the reasons he attempted to whack Leo Rizzuto. And then he was then whacked for that. We've seen Greg Woolley, a high-ranking member in black organized crime, taken out. This has been war after war between various high-ranking organized crime groups. Canada is continuously involved with very crazy wars back and forth. That said, Leo Rizzuto off the street. Now, again, we also have to remember, too, that Canada is pretty lax on crime. I'm sure Leo could probably beat this. We'll see. We'll have to wait and figure it all out down the road. But I wanted to kind of go through a little bit of history on Leo Rizzuto, just talk about some of the stuff that maybe you didn't know about him. The fact that he was a lawyer and still is pretty interesting in the grand scheme of things. Will the Rizzuto crime family survive? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you'd like to support this channel further, please hit that thanks button below the video and also check out our sponsor, ProfitX, in the pinned comment. Happy Father's Day. We'll see you next week here on the Sit Down.